Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel, and welcome back to Speed Build Sundays. So if you've been watching the the last few videos of mine, you would know that I was talking about when the Stodler I think it's like safe to say that I mess up words a lot. I was saying when the toddler stuff pack came out that I was gonna build a like a fun center. I guess I was mentioning in my speed build last week. I don't know if they're outside of Utah. I actually am pretty sure they are. It's Chuckie Cheeses. That type of thing was what I was thinking a little bit with this. There's a lot of different activities for kids to do here. You have kids and toddlers. I mean, you'll see a little bit later in the video, I actually put it on a much bigger lot and extend the building to be a little bigger. But there's this huge like playground on the side of the building. And I think that was a lot better. So I like to start off small before I go bigger, just to see how much I'm actually using and that kind of stuff. So yeah, but I really like this, and I organized it into kind of little like sections you'll see as we kind of go through. But when you first walk in, you have like a little reception area. Maybe it's like something that you can drop your kids off after school or something like that. They could go play. You can get like art supplies and stuff at the front desk, and you're just supposed to check in, or you're supposed to like buy stuff or buy tickets, like however you guys want to do it. The lot is technically a park, because that would attract the most kids to the playground part, but there are lots of activities. So you have the reception area, and you have a just normal kids play area. I put all three of the doll houses that come in the game, a bunch of toys, and so older kids could go and play in there. And then there's 2 desks just in case like kids wanted to do homework. I don't know. And then there's a bathroom, of course, with some toddler potties for your toddlers as well. And then there's a drawing center, which I think is nice. And then next to that is a void critter center. I want to call them centers because I feel like that's how a lot of daycare centers are organized, is into different developmental centers, but it's not necessarily supposed to be a daycare. It's supposed to be for fun. But there is a void critter little center, and then the biggest like part of inside the building is a big toddler center. So I have the big playground, or I have the smaller playground that doesn't have the ball pit or anything attached to it. It's just a smaller one, and then I put a little slide in there because there is definitely indoor playgrounds in like Chuckie Cheeses, so that's why I put that there. And then I also put a bunch of toys. There's some seating, so the parents or whoever can sit down with the kids and watch them, and there's blocks and all that kind of stuff. And then outside you have more toddler like a little toddler area that's closed off, and you'll see all this, but I don't really talk about the build, so I'm telling you now so you know what to expect. So then there's a little toddler playground that has the big playground that has a toddler pit and the slide, and a little seating area for the toddlers, the cooler, of course. And then there's an area for a puppet show for kids to do like a puppet show, a barbecue area if you want to go, to the park for a party or whatever, just that's available. And then you have the kids playground, which has 2 jungle gyms and 2 of the monkey bars. So it's pretty big. Like you have everything that you need, I feel like. And yeah, this is how I really like exploring stuff packs, is by actually building something and actually using the objects. It doesn't really allow me to explore the CAS items, but I do that on my own anyways. So it's just a good way for me to explore the items and explore the gameplay and all that kind of stuff. So I named this after the void critter that is on the front of the building, because I wanted to make it feel like it really is a kind of Chuckie Cheeses, like it's inspired by that, if that makes sense. So I wanted that to be pretty apparent and do that. So that's there. And anything else I guess I want to talk about with the build? Oh, so you're going to see some of the decoration on here. I forgot to save my game. So when I reopened it, some of the decoration I didn't save. I was so mad. So you'll kind of see me repeating some of the same stuff because you're like, well, why did she just did that? Well, it didn't save, so I had to redo it. But I just want to include all of the clips just so you guys can watch it. I don't know. And I can't edit really that well. I'm like Windows Movie Maker, which is what I use right now until I can afford a better program. It's hard to clip like certain parts of it, to trim it, and it's just too hard to edit, and it's really time consuming, and sorry, but I don't have like a ton of time on my hands, like extra time to really, edit right now. So, yeah, I mean, it's fine. The build's not really any longer or anything like that. I think it turned out okay. So let me know what you guys think. But, I mean, I was actually watching another build by Urban Sims because I really like her. And I didn't copy her idea, and it's not like she copied mine, obviously. But she kind of built a fun center as well. So it looks like we kind of had the same idea in mind. They're a little different. So, I mean, either or both or whatever you want. Hers is great too. But she was kind of telling stories about how she used to work at a daycare center, and that kind of made me laugh because I did too. And I mean, if you don't know, I'm in college right now, and I'm actually studying child development because I have a huge passion and a huge interest for child development. So I worked at a daycare center for about 2 years. So I guess my interest for child development kind of stemmed when I was in high school. My mom, was like, hey, you need to take some extracurriculars. And I was like, ugh, like I didn't know what I wanted to take. So she's like, just do preschool, I think, because there was a preschool in my high school. She's like, I think you would enjoy that. I think you would think that's fun. So I just decided to do that. So I took that in high school, and I just ended up like loving it. I mean, I love kids. I always have. I have nieces that are a lot younger than I am. Well, of course they're younger than me. But so, when I was in high school, they were like little kids, and I still have nieces that are little kids. So I've just always really loved like kids. And so I actually realized how much I actually did enjoy it, and just the like cute little feeling of having a kid get excited when they learn something or when they understand something is really rewarding. And so I was like, wow, this is actually what I want to do. So, when I got out of high school, I graduated early from high school because I hated high school, and I went straight into the job field. So I got a job at a local daycare center, and I was a infant teacher, which, I mean, if you don't know what infants are, they're different than toddlers, or they're babies, obviously. So their ages are 12 weeks to about almost a year. Once they hit the year mark, they're technically considered toddlers. They're not babies anymore. And I would say toddlers really go to age 2. So, I mean, the daycare center won't put it that way. They say toddlers go up until, age 2. And then there's a 2-year-old like classroom. So more like 1.5 probably. Like once they get to that 2-year mark, they move them into another classroom. Anyway, so I was a baby teacher. That sounds silly. That's why I'm saying infant teacher, which was amazing. It was so much fun. I mean, can you imagine getting paid playing with babies all day? I mean, you can only have 4 at a time by law. It's 4 to 1 because, they're babies and they need a lot more attention. And they were older babies. They weren't like newborn babies. They were more 6-7 months old. So they could sit up by themselves, and they, could just play by themselves. But I just had so much fun. And that's when I got really interested in child development because, I wasn't just like a daycare worker. Like the daycare that I worked at was technically a like developmental center. They all say that they do that, but then they hired teenagers who don't know what they're talking about. I didn't know what I was talking about either. But so they made me, well, they didn't make me, but like I had to learn about like child development because I had to create curriculum to to send, I had to create curriculum, oh my goodness, curriculum for my toddler or for my infants. And the parents had to see what we did like every day. I'd send home like a little note saying, hey, this is like what we did today and that kind of stuff. So when I started learning more about it, I got really fascinated. And when I say child development, I'm more interested in younger child development because I feel like a lot of people brush it off. They don't think that young kids, toddlers, even infants are smart, right? Like people don't think about that. They're like, oh, they just sit there, they just lie there. But the thing is the way that a baby's brain works is though they can't speak or anything, the moment that they're born, they're intaking everything that they see and hear and touch, like 5 senses, and I call it filing into their brain. So they're filing, what it feels like to have a blanket on them into their brain. They're filing what the sound of your voice is into their brain. And so basically when their brain becomes developed enough to actually talk or whatever, they'll have those pieces of information that they filed away and be able to pull that out. And it comes naturally, is like people say, right? Like, oh, like if you've ever wondered, like, oh, how do we actually learn how to talk? Well, because they've observed what talking is and they've filed it away into their brain. So when they're developmentally able to actually talk, they already know how to do it. Does that make sense? So it's fascinating because their brains are actually incredible. They learn so much so quickly. And so the thing is you can actually do a lot of activities, is what I call them, developmental activities with babies, infants, and toddlers. And you can actually you can speed up their learning processes. So that's what I kind of did with these babies, is I would do activities with them. So for example, a lot of it is in the form of art because that's the easiest way. There's a few logical activities that you can do, but art is probably the best way to go about a lot of things because it does get they get access to a few senses. So like what I would do is they would, do a hand paint. Like I would just give them paint, put it on their hands, and they would just paint however they wanted to, right? Or even reading them books, though they don't really understand what you're saying, like they do in a way. So it's just like stuff like that. So I'd have cute stuff in my classroom all the time, and it was so fun. But eventually I wanted to move on to a different age group. So I actually went to a different child development center and I worked with 3-year-olds, which that's tough because 3-year-olds are really hard. Some people say terrible twos. I'm sure you've heard that. I don't have kids, so I can't personally speak from super personal experience, but in my opinion, 2-year-olds are at the point where they're not they don't think a lot about things emotionally quite yet. Their emotional development isn't really there. So they don't really get as emotional, but 3-year-olds are more emotionally advanced, but it's to the point where they don't know how to control it. Does that make sense? So they have more tantrums. They have a harder time keeping control of their emotions, and they like to see how people react just naturally. So they misbehave sometimes on purpose because they want to see how you're going to react emotionally, and that's just how their brain is structured. It doesn't mean they're bad kids. All kids do that just naturally. That's why they throw temper tantrums, right? They don't know how to control their emotions, but they also want to see how you're going to react so that they can determine how to react in different situations emotionally. Does that make sense? It's pretty fascinating when you really think about it. So yeah, 3-year-olds was tough. Kids are different, right? Their personalities still play a big factor, but overall, that's what they're dealing with in their whatever emotional state or developmental stage they're in is going to cause, they're going to react differently to things. So, yeah, that's kind of my experience. And I did that for, a little while. And then I just decided to move on to a different field just to advance my career, because unfortunately, childcare, working with kids really doesn't make any kind of money at all, which is really sad. But it's just kind of the truth. So I was actually going to school for about almost 2 years to be an elementary school teacher, because I really want to change the lives of kids in some way. That's just my passion. That's what I want to do. I mean, it just is. So I went through a lot of schooling for elementary education, and I got into the point where I was actually volunteering in, classrooms, 5th grade classrooms, 3rd grade classrooms, because I was at that point where I was getting really close to my degree. Sorry. And I just kind of realized that it wasn't really for me. Teachers work so hard. You have no idea how hard they work. They work 14-hour days, and they get paid nothing. And that's really sad, because a teacher can alter the life of a child in a positive or a negative way. I've had really great teachers, and I've had really bad teachers who I know for a fact made me be behind in math, and it's sad. And it's wonderful that teachers can do so much to help kids. And there's so many great teachers out there, but there's so many bad teachers out there. So I just decided it wasn't for me, which sucked, because I spent a lot of time in school studying that. And so I wasted, a good 2 years in school. But I'm really glad that I did it. And there's still some awesome things I learned. So my degree is called Family Studies and Human Development, basically. But I'm getting an emphasis in child development. So what I could do with that degree, nothing really. That's the thing. Here's something about college. Here's a little advice from me. I went through, because no one in my family has really gone to college. My sister did go to college, and she got the same degree I did, and she's not doing anything with it right now, and she doesn't really know what she wants to do with it. So that's the thing, is like, I had it in my head that you had to go to college for something that you want to do. Yes, that's the goal, right? Because a degree gets you a job. But depending on what industry you go into, sometimes you don't need a degree to have a really good job. Right now, I have a really good job. I make pretty good money to support myself, and I don't have a degree in that. Granted, it's not what I want to do as a career, but I could get away with not having a college degree. I could. Now, I don't think, personally, I don't want to do that. I want to go to college because I believe in education. I believe it's important to be educated, but I believe that you should get something that you should get a degree that you're passionate about. My best friend, two of my best friends, one of my friends, Brighton, she is a amazing actress, theater. She does theater. And she got a degree in that, in theater arts. And, she's not doing that as a career because it's tough, for one, right? It's exhausting, and it doesn't make that much money. But she's so passionate about it, and that's what she got a degree in. And she's so glad that she did. And my other friend, she got a degree in journalism, and she's not actually doing anything with it necessarily, but they're just passionate about those things. So that kind of made me realize, okay, maybe I'll use my degree for something in the future. Maybe I won't. You just never know. But all I know is that I'm passionate about child development, and so it will be easy for me to get through school because I'm passionate about what I'm learning about. That's my advice, is if you're going to go to college, major in something that you're interested in. Don't major in business just because that seems like the best way to get a job. Don't do that, because you're going to hate school. You're not going to love it. You're not going to really learn that much. You want to have to learn. College is hard. It's really, really hard. It's not easy. it's not like high school, in my opinion. It's really hard, especially if you work full time and you're trying to go to school full time. It's a grind. It's really hard. And so now that I'm doing something that I love to do, it's not hard for me to do full-time YouTube and full-time school and full-time job. It's not, because I love what I do, all three things. I mean, I don't love my job necessarily, but I don't hate it. I'm just not passionate about it, but I'm passionate about YouTube and I'm passionate about what I'm going to school for. So, I mean, that's my advice. I mean, sorry, this is like more of a like grown up. I shouldn't say that, but not everybody's going to be interested in this, but I'm just super passionate about child development, and we'll just see what I do with it in the future. Maybe I'll do nothing ever. I think maybe my ultimate dream one day would be to open up a child development center, not a daycare, but kind of like a tutor center, if you know what I mean, but for kids who are gifted and kids who are underdeveloped, if that makes sense. So kids who are gifted also need help, and kids who are struggling with certain subjects, that kind of part of a tutor center, but through a developmental approach, knowing their learning style, knowing their background, knowing how they handle things emotionally. Those kind of things are super important with learning. And I would just be super passionate about helping all like kinds of kids. So, maybe at some point in my life, that's what I'll do. I think that would be my ultimate dream. But we'll kind of see. I would have no idea how to get there. That would be something I'd have to do research on. But anyway, so I had a fun time doing this build because of that. I love child development, and it's super colorful. I know it's over the top with like decorations and stuff. It's over the top. I know that. But I wanted it to be super just crazy and cute and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It is down in the link. No, it's down in the description to download the link to this build. And I have just a few screenshots, not too many, because I don't know, it's kind of hard. It's a big open build. I just basically have one of the front and just a few others. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.